Hey, what's up guys, Benny here and welcome to another Apex Legends Season 4 video. Now, one of the videos I get asked to do a lot is an updated best settings video. So, not just your controller settings, but also your gameplay, video, and audio settings. And that's exactly what I'm going to give you in this video. I've also got a couple other things that you can tweak with settings outside of Apex Legends that'll help give you a competitive edge as well, depending on whether you're playing on Xbox or PS4. So, if you follow this video step by step, you're going to have what I believe to be the best setup possible for Apex Legends Season 4. And if you've got any other suggestions, please do go ahead and share them down in the comments below. Let's start off with the all-important gameplay settings. These are settings that will adjust how certain mechanics work whilst you're playing Apex Legends Season 4. First of all, interact prompt style, I use compact, and that's because I'm just really comfortable with the game as I know exactly what every item in the game does, so I just like having less clutter on my HUD. So for this setting, if you're newer to the game or just don't play for hundreds of hours a month, I'd recommend using default. Otherwise, compact helps keep your UI cleaner and means you're less likely to miss someone that could be covered up by a prompt. Button hint is definitely worth having on, and crosshair damage feedback is one that you'll want to have as X with shield icon, as it genuinely is useful to help make you make decisions whilst in an intense gunfight, as you'll know more about how much health your opponent has left. And damage numbers, I like to have both, so I can see the total damage I'm dealing along with how much I'm dealing per shot to allow me to make small aim adjustments to avoid limb damage and focus on the body and head. Ping opacity I have as default as I play solo without a microphone a lot of the time, so I want to make sure I can see those pings to work with my team properly, and then I have obituaries on as it just makes no real difference to gameplay. Then you have your first big decision to make. I personally have now started having minimap rotation turned on just because it allows me to have a better overall idea of where exactly my teammates are positioned around me at a glance. So I know what areas of the map are covered and where we could potentially be flanked or miss an enemy player. It takes some getting used to, but is worth it in the long run. You'll then want weapon auto cycle on empty, auto sprint should be off, and then double tap sprint should be on because, to be honest, why not? As double tap currently does nothing, so you've got nothing to lose, and is useful when you're running away from the circle and need to do some quick inventory management. And then incoming damage feedback I have as 3D, and then you also want to have taking damage closes death box menu as off. This is to allow you to be able to do things like shield swap even when under fire, which can help you win games if you can do it fast enough. And then streamer mode is just purely up to you. I personally have mine as off, and then usage sharing is your own choice as well. Now, for the accessibility section, I should be using Deuteranopia as I'm colorblind, but because I record and make videos, I always choose to keep this off, but use it if you need to. Subtitles is also worth having on, as it can help you miss verbal callouts from your team, such as when Wraith is spotted, but that's only if you really want to win, as I don't think it looks the prettiest on the bottom of the screen. But those are the gameplay settings that I personally use and what I think is the best possible setup for Apex Legends Season 4. Next, we have the all-important best controller settings for Apex Legends Season 4. Starting with the button layout, you'll want to use button puncher. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Firstly, in Apex Legends, you don't actually melee that often unless you don't have a gun or any ammo. But what you are going to be doing a lot, especially if you're playing as Revenant, is crouch and slide. And button puncher means all you need to do is press the right stick to crouch, so you'll never have to take your thumb off your thumbstick ever again, which is the other reason you want to play as button puncher. Then for stick layout, you'll want to use default. I've honestly never met anyone who uses Southpaw, Legacy, or Legacy Southpaw, and I can never imagine in a million years why you would want to. Then for your interact and reload button, you'll want to use tap to use and reload, as this is going to allow you to do those actions as quickly as possible whilst in game, and speed is so important in Apex Legends. For your crouch button, you'll want toggle, and then your aim button should be hold. Then your trigger dead zones, you're going to want none. Now, personally, I have none because I tend to not accidentally squeeze my triggers and want my gun to fire as quickly as possible as soon as I press them. It's important in things like getting those first shots off, which when you're so close to becoming champion as Revenant for the first time in Apex Legends Season 4, believe me, you're not going to want a small delay to getting your gun being fired. Those fractions of a second could make all the difference. Then my menu cursor speed, I have at around 25%, which works for me, but it's really personal preference in what you feel comfortable using whilst in menus. And now it's probably for the most important controller settings. And I've actually mixed mine up in Apex Legends Season 4 compared to what I started with when I started playing Apex Legends, just to keep up with the pace of gameplay. For my look sensitivity, I use a 4. This is so I can quickly look around my surroundings, trying to spot where enemies are coming from, but to balance this, I make sure to take advantage of my ADS look sensitivity and per optic settings. Because really, your ADS sensitivity is the most important and where you'll get most of your kills, though great control whilst firing from the hip is also important. For my ADS look sensitivity, I go one lower than my look sensitivity down to a 3. Then for my per optic settings, 1 times optic / iron sights is a 3, 2 times optic is a 3, 3 times optic is a 3, 4 times is a 3, and then my 6 times, 8 times, and 10 times optics are all 4. What I would advise is spend some time in the firing range, practicing using different weapons and different scopes to find what works best for you. This is from my hours of testing, works best for me, and is a strong place to start. And I'd love to hear what you decided on using down in the comments below. Then you'll want to set your response curve to steady, which gives you a balance of firm control and fast aim. But really, from my experience, it just smooths out your movements with the thumbsticks, and I find makes it a lot easier to snap onto your targets. For your look dead zone, you'll want none. It's just going to give you better control and allow you to make those small adjustments in a gunfight. It's especially useful at range. The only difficulty you may have is if you have an old controller that likes to drift. If that's the case, just use small. Movement dead zone should be small and inverted should be off, because I'll be honest, people that play inverted scare me. Vibration should also be off. Yeah, it's cool and all that, but it doesn't help your gameplay whatsoever. It can only make your aim worse. And then finally, for your controller settings, I just completely ignore the advanced look controls. You just don't need to go there. You'll then want to go across to your video settings to set your field of view. I find on console that 90 works best, and you won't miss anything in your peripheral vision. And then you'll also want sprint view shake to minimal. Yeah, it looks cool whilst you're running, but if you want to do well, minimal is where it's at. Oh yeah, and just so I don't forget, make sure your brightness settings are set correctly as well. Then audio settings are also pretty important. For me personally, taking advantage of in-game sounds is one of the biggest things you can do to improve your gameplay. So you'll first of all want to set your master volume to around 90%. This is because some sounds do peak in Apex Legends, which could cover other quieter sounds. Sound effect volume I then also have at 90%. Dialogue at 25%, and because you've got subtitles on, this isn't super important. Music is sadly at 0%, first of all because I'm making videos of my gameplay and it's just sound that doesn't help make you a better player, though you'll be happy to know that I do have my lobby music on at 90%. And then I have voice chat and convert incoming voice to chat text both off. Now, those are all my in-game settings for Apex Legends Season 4 and really should give you a strong base to start from, though to really make the most out of them, I'd set them and then go into firing range and mess around with them for a bit to see what works best for you. But I do have some other settings you can set and change to help give you a competitive advantage that aren't in the game. First of all, if you're playing on an Xbox One S or X and not playing in 4K, please, I beg you, set your console to 120Hz. Yes, you'll need a monitor or TV that supports 120Hz, but it honestly makes such a big difference. PC gamers will go on about their 144 Hz, 240 Hz, and now even 360 Hz monitors and talk about how big of a difference it makes. There aren't dedicated graphic settings for Apex Legends on your Xbox, but it'll still help make your gameplay smoother, so you're less likely to miss things than if you're just playing on 60 Hz. And for those of you that don't know what the Hertz rating is, it's how many times per second your TV or monitor refreshes. Next, you'll also want to make sure if you're using an Xbox Elite controller, SCUF controller, or have that new PlayStation attachment to add paddles, to set your left paddle button to jump. This means that in gunfights, you'll never have to take your thumb off your thumbstick, which is something you just never want to do. And if you don't have a controller with paddles on the back, I'll be doing a video very soon on how to play claw, which is what I personally do. You'll also may want to have a look into getting Dolby Atmos for headphones if you're on Xbox, which is an amazing way to give you more immersive audio to hear the direct direction of where enemy footsteps or gunfire is coming from, which also helps to give you a competitive edge. But there we have it, the best settings for Apex Legends Season 4. Please share what you think down in the comments below. And I hope this video was useful, as I know a lot of people asked me to make this video for Apex Legends Season 4. If it was, smash that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye.